How's it going, guys? Vlad here, and this is the third tutorial on Altium Designer. And as you can see, I finalized the connections from the IC to all of our components, and I've annotated the schematic, and which now shows R1, R2, R3, the cap, the diode, the IC, as well as the header. To do so, you gotta go into your tools, and you can either annotate the schematic manually by choosing which component gets a specific value, or you can just click on the annotate schematics quietly. And as you can see, in my case, it's already been done, so it says no designer changes are gonna be made. But in your case, if you click OK, you're gonna see your question marks replaced with R1 with the numbers basically for all of your components. And now we're going to proceed to the PCB. So what you do is you right click on your project, add new to project, and you're going to add a PCB. You should see a black screen open up. This is your board layout, and before we get the components on this file, you have to save it. So save it in the same directory as your project. Click yes if you've already tried to make one. And what we're going to do is now go into design, import all of your changes, and here you're going to see a list of your components as well as of your nets, and you're going to validate the changes first, and you should see check marks appear on the right side of each component and net, and this makes sure that all your connections are correct and all your annotations are correct in the schematic. If they're not check marks, make sure to read the warning signs that it says, and you should see messages appear on the right. So what we're going to do now is execute all the changes, and as you can see, we have a board which appeared in the bottom right corner. We're going to drag it onto the middle, and what I'm going to do is roughly resize it to the size of our board, like so. And some commands before we start actually laying out the components. First of all, we're going to define our board shape. So the way you do that, you go into design, go into your board shape, and you're going to redefine board shape. So the easiest method, if you just have a standard square board, you can just use the corners right here. As you can see, there's a nice little circle that appears, so you click right there, and you start with a 45-degree mode, which you can toggle with the shift and space. So shift space until you get into the 90-degree mode, which makes it much easier for you. Click in the other corner, the third one, and now you can simply press escape, and this should make your board the size that you want. What else we're going to do? So as you can see, the values right here are way off, so we're going to set a different origin, and the way you do that is you go into edit, you have your origin tab, you're going to set it, and this really depends on you. I like it to have it in the bottom left corner. So we're gonna put it right there. For your layers, in the case that you want a board that's bigger than a single or double layer board, you're gonna go into design. You have your layer stack manager, and you can add more layers, remove layers, specify what they do. It's really self-explanatory, but in this case, we're only gonna have, essentially it's a 2-layer board, which is the minimum in Altium Designer, but we're gonna make all of our connections on only one side. So lastly, before we go into our design, we're gonna check the design rules, which could be done through the rule wizard, and this is a very simple guide which is gonna walk you through the trace thickness, your avoidance, etc. Or you can do it in manually by going into the rules, and you can change the width of your track as you want. So the minimum width, you have the preferred width, the maximum, and I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You have a lot of different settings in here, but Altium Designer makes a nice schematic for you, so to speak, so you can change the clearances that you want. Let's say you want to set this to 20, and then you press enter, and there you go. You should really go through all of these and make sure that they're correct with your standards as well as the manufacturer, to avoid any like overcharges on your orders. So you click apply, click OK, and you're done with that. So we're gonna now start laying out the components, and I'm doing this for the first time, so forgive me if there's any mistakes or delays between this. So I'm gonna just roughly place your components, your IC in the middle. This is your R2, R1. Let's put the power, actually let's put it up here. That's our capacitor. The LED is obviously gonna go, let's put it like so. Okay, and I'm gonna zoom in a bit. This is, the commands are exactly the same as with the schematic, so you press down the wheel and you can zoom in or out. So I'm gonna start placing the tracks. You click on the icon right here. First of all, before I forget, we're gonna work on the bottom layer of our circuit, so you're gonna select the bottom layer in this menu right here. You're gonna start placing the track, and you simply click where you want to have it. And to change between different modes, just as we did before, this is shift space, and you can select, as you can see, there's various modes that you can use for your tracks. So I prefer going with this one. And you always, in this mode, you have to click it twice. The first is the grayed out connection that's going to be made, and the second one is going to be the it's basically going to toggle between those two. So as you can see, there's two different areas, one that's grayed out and one that is not, so you have to always place the grayed out one first. So let me give you an example. As you can see, only the blue one has been placed in this case. And now I wanted to make a connection to our node on the IC, so I'm gonna double click that, press escape, and that's your track right there. Okay, so what other connections need to be made? We're gonna connect this resistor right here. That's good. I'm gonna make this connection like so. There we go. We're gonna connect our LED to the resistor. There we go. The capacitor goes on this pin. Okay, and as you can see, Altium Designer makes it really easy for you to make all your connections. I mean, most PCB softwares do, so I don't think it's anything new. There you go, that's the capacitor connection. We're gonna go around, and see, one thing you can notice is the clearances are always respected, and these are set in the settings as I showed you. So there you, I forgot to double click right there, so, and there you go, that's your connection. I'm gonna connect this to our power. Okay, and the final track is gonna go around like so. And as you can see, Altium Designer makes it really easy for you to just avoid all the clearances. You can pretty much do anything, and it's gonna make sure that your clearances that you've set in your settings menu are always respected. So that looks roughly okay. Obviously you can make the circuit as small as you want, like it's not unnecessarily, oh, I missed one connection right here. So there you go, so those are your connections. Let me just quickly check. Okay, there's one more missing right here. So always make sure to check your connections to see if all the components are connected and that the nets are not appearing on your PCB. So you can then press escape when you're done with the routing, And if you're happy with the results, all that you have left to do is basically fabricate the files, and what you have to do is go into Files, Fabrication Outputs, and here you can select the Gerber files, which is a common standard for your manufacturers. You can check the formats, it describes it pretty well. Usually I would go with 2-3. So in your layers, since we're only working with the bottom layer, we want to select the 4 bottom layers, and in this case, I mean, the solder mask is going to be very minimal. So you click OK, and you should see a preview of your files, and as you can see, that's your cam right there. You should see the 3. If you want to see the separate files, those are your 3 separate files. And finally, what you also need to do is go into File, Import, and you want to go into your drill. So drill. You also want to generate your files. Sorry, this is not for the import. The drill files, you still have to do the you have to go back to your PCB file, fabrication outputs, drill drawings. Nope, not that again. File, fabrication outputs, and C drill files. There we go. I apologize for that. So you're gonna click OK, and this should generate a drill file for your circuit. And as you can see, these are basically the holes matching all of your holes in your circuit. So that's your IC, those are your resistors, as you can see, the capacitor, the resistor again, the LED, and your header. So what we have here is basically everything you need to send to your manufacturer at this point, which can be used to manufacture your circuit. And basically what I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna make the circuit and solder it myself, and I'm gonna show you the whole process, but I'm gonna do a slightly different version, which is an SMD version, and I'm gonna use the chemical methods instead of going through a manufacturer to make the circuit. So stay tuned, and if you want to watch that, subscribe to my channel. There's always going to be new updates, and if you have any comments, questions about Altium Designer, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So thank you again for watching, and see you next time. Bye.